Good evening, and welcome to Riderpiece Theater. Me, Alistair Dayhawk, and tonight, me proud to present Kamen Rider Gacha Episode 41, the continuation of Where on Earth is Nijigon San Diego. So last week, Hotarou has been looking for poor Nijigon San Diego since the enemy is trying to capture him. And stupidly enough, Hotarou assumed that Mama-san ate Nijigon San Diego, but luckily for Hotarou, Hopper 1 was inside his backpack and told him, like, seriously, Hotarou, do you seriously believe that your own mother would eat a blue baby dragon that she never seen before, mind you? And so Hotarou was like, yeah, you're right. And so Hotarou went on the hunt for Nijigon San Diego, and Kudo comes in and decides to help Hotarou. And unfortunately for those two, they encountered Germain and his golem. And we see a lot of explosions. So already, the two Kamen Riders are in for a fight and they're losing badly. So we continue where we left off last week. And Germain pretty much tells Hotarou, hey, I can't wait to eat Nijigon San Diego, because once I eat the poor baby dragon, I will create more chemies and help mankind to turn into Malgaims. That's their evolution. That's their fate. And Hotarou is like, I will never let you eat my chemi. Never. And so Kudo decides to create an opening for Hotarou, and she starts fighting the golem for a little bit. And you see one of her punches or kicks lands on the chest area, and you see cracks, which she tells Hotarou, like, hey, now do it. And Hotarou destroys the golem, and Germain was like, oh, I didn't see this coming. Okay, you can have this victory for now, but I'll be back. And he leaves, and we move on from that narrow victory to Weird Sister number 2 and Spanner versus Weird Sister number 3, match 2. And the last time we saw those three, number 2 was defeated and says to her own sister that you're nothing more than a monster without a soul. And then Spanner gets another L, and now in the continuation of the fight, you see Spanner getting his ass kicked over and over until he inadvertently activates his black flame to block one of Weird Sister number 3's attacks. And Spanner's like, oh, the black flame. Like, you forgot that you have that power, didn't you, Spanner? And then Gigest shows up and just stops number 3 with his magic. And he tells Spanner that you have the same power as I do. It's for your own best interest to join me, and I will teach you how to use your flame properly. And of course, typical Spanner fashion says this is a ridiculous joke. And I have to say this before I move forward. Let's say Spanner does learn how to, harness his power either from Gigest or from somebody else, or maybe he learns it by himself. Will that help him get more victories? Because I was like, okay, Gigest, teach him how to harness his powers, right? Is he gonna win? because every time he obtains new abilities, like him becoming the Kamen Rider, and now with his black flame, which that flame is going to be part of the new rider form that he's going to get in a couple of episodes from now. Is he going to win? Because he's been constantly losing. I like Spanner, but I just don't like how Creative is treating him in his fights. And he is supposed to be a prodigy. Like, he's good at almost everything, but in terms of fighting, he sucks. Then Gigest offers Spanner to, hey, since you don't need my teachings, why not just use your power to kill Germain then? And Spanner was like, why do you want me to kill a fellow Kingsman? And Gigest explains that once he dies, his powers gets transferred to him, to Gigest. And then Gigest and number 3 disappears. And we get to see this cute moment between Spanner and number 2, where number 2 pinches his shirt, and Spanner turns around and looks at number 2, and I think you saw this too. Did he smile? I think Spanner smiled just a tad, but in any case, I think it was a smile. But he smiled towards number 2, and that was it. And this is a sign that the writers are planting the seeds of an eventual relationship. We don't know yet if it's out of friendship or a romantic relationship, but all we know is that we just witnessed seeds planted for an eventual relationship, which I already knew it was going to happen eventually. So it was no surprise there, but it's nice to see Spanner smile for a little bit. So we move on from there to Kudo and Weird Sister number 1, who's been played by a 10-year-old. Yeah, guys, you heard it here. Number 1 has reached 10 years old, so happy birthday to her. So number 1 tells Kudo that, hey, remember your promise to me? And Kudo's like, yeah, I remember. Don't worry, I will kill him. And that was the end of that scene. It's just like, do you remember our deal? If you destroy Germain, I will not hurt people ever again. Remember that? Yeah, I remember. And we get to see, number 1 still holding the golden Rubik's Cube that beats like a heart. And we move on from there to the opening credits. And then after the opening credits, we get to see Nijigon San Diego. And Nijigon San Diego meets with this girl named Mai, who is practicing right now. And Mai was surprised to see this toy dragon that talks. And Mai opens up to Nijigon San Diego, and she explains that she's part of a group and she loves to dance, but she feels that she's not good enough to be part of that group that she's at, and she wants to quit. And Nijigon says something to Mai, and Mai thought it was like an insult, because Nijigon says, you look like you're gonna cry. And obviously Nijigon didn't say it in a way of an insult, but Mai took it the wrong way, and she storms out with her stuff, leaving the poor dragon behind. So we move on to, poor Mai and the poor dragon who was trying to help, learn the situation, but it just went bad. It went sour to the Alliance. So the Alliance, were following some kind of trail, and it led them to some movers, And the moment the movers heard Nijigon's name, they both said, hey, this blue dragon showed up out of nowhere and helped us with our job. And you see Nijigon San Diego with a hard hat and carrying boxes of stuff into some building. And then afterwards, all three of them were talking, having fun. And Hotarou was like, why is he doing that? Like, I don't understand. And either it was Sabi or Kudo who tells Hotarou, like, I think Nijigon got affected by Spanner's words. Because remember, Spanner said that chemis are only good for fighting. That's all they know. And Nijigon, took it to heart and says, well, I'm going to prove that we're not just, weapons of war, so to speak. We can do many things aside from fighting. And he proved it by helping the movers out. And then later on, where he helps, Mai and her group, and it's just to prove something to Spanner and all the doubters that, hey, chemis are not just for fighting, but also they're there to help people and cheer people on. And so once the Alliance got their information, they went on their way, and of course Miro Sensei was there to wipe out, the poor Mubu's memories. Miro Sensei, that's the only thing you're good for. Anyways. So we move on from the memory wipe to this scene with Germain and the other king. Gigest is not there, and you see Weird Sister number 1, who's been played by a 10-year-old, and Germain is now going to hunt down the kids and Nijigon. And number 1 asks, like, are you gonna kill them? And Germain goes to Weird Sister number 1 and asks, hey, so do you want me to kill them for you? Or do you want the opposite to happen? So I think this king is not dumb. He knows that number 1 hates his guts for eating her master. I mean, rightfully so, right? And you would think that Germain will have any thoughts on eating number 1, but it didn't happen. It's not going to happen, obviously, but you would think, but nah. So we move on from one quick scene to another quick scene with Spanner cleaning his wrench sword. And he's been thinking and pondering on what Gigest said to him about killing his fellow kingsmen. And Spanner's like, why does he want me to destroy him? There has to be more to it. And obviously, why? Why would a fellow kingsman want to kill another king, right? But we all saw last week the way, Germain treated Gigest. He treated him like crap. And it's obvious that this trinity does not trust anybody within that trinity. And they're willing to kill each other over a throne. Like, who is the best king amongst the three? And, he assumed leadership because of what happened 2 weeks ago. But Spanner, he already told you why. If you kill Germain, his powers get sent to Gigest and he will become more powerful. He already told you the answer, so I don't understand why are you pondering and wondering why does Gigest want me or him to kill his fellow kingsmen when he told you. All right. So the trail leads the kids to a dance festival where we get to see Nijigon San Diego, who decides to jump in on stage and help Mai's group because Mai wasn't there. And we get to see the birth of what it sounds like to me, the Kemi version of a poke rap. Because you hear, the names of some Kemi cards and the gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. And it's just like, okay, this is a poke rap made for Kemis. And in the crowd, you get to see Kaijiki, who came out from the character closet and recovered from the raptor attack. Because remember, he got slimed. And for some reason, he gets taken away by security. And Savi noticed this and was like, man, like he's everywhere. Like, like when there's like a Kemi related problem, Kaijiki is always there. And I'm like, he's a literal magnet. He is. And I wish the writers, creative in general, could have just utilized him a bit more. But he's just one of those, underutilized characters aside from Mama-san. Anyways, Kaijiki gets taken away by security. And after the performance, we get backstage, and the girls are pretty much hovering over Nijigon San Diego and just, thanking him for the help and all that stuff. And typical Hotarou, instead of knocking, he just bursts into the room and just comes in and becomes Mother Hotarou. I'm like, dude, I understand that you are worried about this dragon. I know that the enemy is hunting him down, but did you forget your manners? Again, I understand you're worried, but Jesus. Because when you watch the scene over, he just burst in without knocking on the door. I'm like, damn, Hotarou. But it's Hotarou. What do you expect? But here's the thing. You know that every time he turns to Mother Hotarou, he is cringy as hell. But he has every right to be Mother Hotarou right now because Nijigon did something wrong here, which is not informing Hotarou of where he's going, because the enemy is looking for him. And it's going to be very sad if he ends up getting captured and eaten. So Hotarou was giving him the business, and it's understandable. And Nijigon apologizes, and all is well. And then Mai steps in and thanks Nijigon for reminding her that, her passion about dancing and entertainment, because that is something she wants to do. And she thanks Nijigon and then turns to her two partners, and she tells them, look, I apologize for what I did. Can you please take me back? And they hug it out, and one of them tells her, like, look, next time, speak your mind. If you have any problems, tell us. Don't just bottle it all in and leave and quit and just not say anything. I mean, she has a point. So all's well that ends well, and we get back on stage, and you see all three of them performing, and Miro Sensei comes in and tells the kids, guys, Germain is coming this way, and we have to be ready for him. And Hotarou's like, we're not gonna run, so we're gonna protect these people, and we're gonna meet the enemy head on. So we get into the next scene with everybody in the alliance minus number 2, and we get to see Germain on the other side, and Hotarou does this, speech that, we're ready to defeat you. And then Spanner comes in and says, I will defeat you. And Hotarou smiles because he's happy to see him. And we get to see all three riders transform at the same time. Overall, the fight was really good. I enjoyed the fight. And, all the explosions and the multiple god charts. Like, it was literally one against an army by the end of this fight. The only disappointing part of all this is that number 2 wasn't a part of it. I mean, why wasn't she a part of it? She can transform and she could fight, so why didn't she show up? That's my problem. Is she part of the Alliance? Is she part of the alchemy school? So why wasn't she there? Why? Yeah, that's my question. Anyway, so during the fight, Kudo tells Hotarou that I should be the one to destroy him because I want to save number 1. And then Spanner comes in and says that I should be the one to defeat him because I want to show Gigest that I don't need his teachings. I will use my power of the black flame to help people and change the world and save the world and all that, which causes Hotarou to be all excited. Oh my god, listening to their gachas is getting me excited. And then Nijigon San Diego tells Hotarou that I realize what I want to do, which is cheer people on and help people, which causes Hotarou to be like, all right, so we found your gacha, which causes Hotarou to unleash 3 versions of himself. And this is where we get one against an army of Kamen Riders. And yeah, I mean, the fight overall was pretty good. And then towards the end, we get to see the 3 gachas helping Spanner, Hotarou, and Kudo with a jump boost, and which leads them into an all 3 rider kick. And we see a giant explosion from behind, indicating that the Abyss Alice King has been destroyed. But of course, these kings are very tough to kill, because remember, Gigest, he came back. And also, Germain, he came back. By everybody's shock, like, what? Like, he survived 3 rider kicks? Damn, he's still alive? And then we have Weird Sister number 1, who has been played by a 10-year-old, shows up, and Kudos tells her that, hey, I kept my promise. And number 1 says thank you, and she walks towards Germain, and Germain was like, oh, please come, because I need to eat you, because if I do eat you, my energy will come back and I'll be fully revived, that sort of thing. But before he can do anything to number 1, number 1 takes out the golden Rubik's Cube and just inserts it into Germain, and just everybody was shocked, like, what the hell am I watching here? And you see the king screaming, and then all of a sudden you get to see the triumphant return of Master Greyon. So the king is dead, but in its place, Master Greyon returns. And when he comes to, he sees all those people that defeating all those people, sorry, I can't talk, guys, so I do apologize on that. He sees all these people who defeated him the first time, and just led him into the Ouroboros realm and tells him like, oh, it's you guys. You were the ones that sent me into that abyss. But I'm back now, and I will continue where I left off, and I will turn this world into gold. And he turns around and leaves, and Weird Sister number 1 follows him and turns around and looks at Kudo with a wicked smile on her face, and she just walks away with the master. And that's the end of the episode, guys. Guys, I already know what's going to happen in the next episode. Kudo is going to blame herself for what happened. And I'm like, Kudo, like, you can't do this to yourself. You need to stop taking blame from other people's actions. You can't do that. This is another thing that I can't stand about Kudo. Like, she is taking blame for other people's actions, and she can't do that. It's just making her like stressed out and all that stuff. And hopefully Hotarou and the others will tell her like, it's not your fault, so stop blaming yourself. You need to stop blaming yourself. And I'm sure she's gonna feel betrayed as well. I already imagine, we made the pinky promise. She swore on the pinky. Well, Kudo, if you're going to say that in the next episode, which I'm going to wait and see, right? If you're going to say that, number 1 has not yet broke her pinky promise. She hasn't yet hurt people. So her promise, her end of the bargain has been kept. It's just that she didn't tell you that, hey, I'm going to revive Master Greyon. So, Kudo, don't feel betrayed because she hasn't broken her promise yet. Don't worry about it. And stop blaming yourself. And then the whole issue of having Gigest teach Spanner into harnessing his flame. Again, Spanner has been getting a lot of L's, and even if he learns how to harness his powers, will that help him get some victories? Because he's been losing, and I can't stand it. I like Spanner, and it's just I hate the fact that he's been losing constantly, man. But on the bright side, we're seeing the eventual relationship between him and number 2. Again, we don't know if it's friendship or boyfriend and girlfriend. We don't know that for sure yet. We only have 9 episodes left. So all that we know is that the seeds are already planted. And then Miro Sensei doing the memory wipe. Here's the theory that I have in terms of who's going to be the final boss, which I believe is going to be the master after all. When Gigest said that once an Abyss Alice King gets destroyed, its powers gets transferred. I'm getting this feeling that Greyon will be the last king standing, and he will either become, a monster or become a Kamen Rider. We don't know for sure, but something tells me that Greyon may end up becoming a monster instead of a Kamen Rider, but you never know. You never know. But yeah, Master Greyon is officially, I think, it's going to be the final boss. Now, again, we all know where Fuga is at. He's resting at the school. we still don't know who the hell is Hotarou's father, or where he's at, and also what's going on with the Alchemy Association. Guys, we only have 9 episodes. Yeah, we only have 9 episodes left, and we still don't know anything about those two things. I'm like, okay, writers, I know I told you guys you suck, but you still have time. You still have 9 episodes to go, but it's just, God damn. That's all I'm gonna say, guys. I'm gonna start ranting if I continue on. So I'll stop here. So what's your thoughts and opinions on episode 41? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Did I miss anything important? Even though I have my notes in front of me, I may have missed a couple of things. And give me your thoughts. Do you think that the master will be the final boss? And will he turn into a Kamen Rider? Or he will turn into a monster? Give me your thoughts on that. And yeah, I think that is it, guys. Give a like if you like it, and please subscribe. And swore on the pinky. And I'll see you all on the other side of Oblivion. Johnny!